Hey guys, it's your legal bestie, Attorney Simone. Let me move this down a little more. Attorney Simone, and I just wanted to do a quick little members live. First of all, to thank you guys for being a member and joining. Hey guys, let's see who I'm going to give you guys a chance to come on in. Let me know where you are viewing me from as you do. Definitely want to see that. And we'll keep it fairly short. Oh, let me share this link. Hey Jess, how are you? I want to share the link to just make sure everyone knows they can come on in here. Okay, hold on. And feel free if you want to join in, ask questions, or what have you. Let me do a little post. All right, join the members only live. All right. And actually, I'm going to drop the link. Here we go. I'm going to drop the link. That way, if someone wants to come in and ask a question, you absolutely can. I want to give you a quick little update as well on, there we go, on Porsha's divorce, because many have asked about that, and answer whatever questions you may have. Here we go. Invite guests to the studio. Here you guys are. If you want to ask a question or want to call in, okay, here we go. Click here. Don't have to show your face. Bop, bop, bop. There you go. All right, so if anyone wants to jump in, have a question or whatever. Again, this is just members live. I apologize for not giving you guys a lot of notice. This weekend, as Grown Women Don't Try Me said, I was trying to rest. And so I wasn't really sure exactly when I would be able to schedule this. So apologize for that notice. We'll do another one. Let's say, I'll say like, oh God, maybe Tuesday night. So this week's going to be kind of crazy, just to give you an update. So I'm going to be covering the trial Monday and Tuesday. Mondays are my long days, because not only do I do the trial, but in the evenings, I teach my law school coaching class, which is from 8 to 9 Eastern time. So I'm going to be doing that Monday too. And then guess what, y'all? You get the tea with me. Hey, bad girl Riri. Hey. This week, I'm also going to be recording for a documentary on the turkey leg hut. So I'm going to be providing some legal analysis, my thoughts, the tea on that. If you're not familiar, the turkey leg hut was a Houston staple. It was a extremely successful Black business restaurant where they were notorious nationally for their delicious turkey legs. And the husband and wife were going through a messy divorce. There was some mysterious fires that continued to occur related to him. So I have talked about that on another number of platforms. Now they are actually doing an official documentary, and they've asked me to participate. So I've got that. Tuesday, I also have $1 million case. Correction, I'm flying out from New York. I'll be back, but Tuesday I have to go to Dallas. I've got $1 million trial. It's for a client who was injured in a lift. And I'm going to be going down. We are finally doing that trial. So that's Tuesday, I'm doing that trial. Wednesday, I'm doing the Turkey Leg Hut documentary. Thursday is Juneteenth. So there's no trial on Thursday. Then I want to say there's like a light day of trial on Friday. So I'll give you guys some coverage on Friday too. Hey, paralegal cutie. I just dropped that link. If anyone wants to ask a question or join, you're welcome to. You do not have to show your face. You can just put on the little avatar. But I wanted to catch up with you guys and just let you guys know how much I love your support. You guys have allowed me to stay here a lot longer. As of now, I'm going to be staying through the end of the trial, assuming like it doesn't get crazy and they don't add like 3 more weeks. The trial was supposed to be done the week of the 4th of July. However, I'm thinking it's probably going to go after the 4th of July. So if the 4th is on a Friday, it's probably going to go to around the 11th. And then we'll see, how long it takes for the jury to come back with their decision. Happy Father's Day. That's right, to any dads that are in the chat. But yes. Oh, and many have been asking me about Porsha's divorce to Simon. I'm your legal bestie, Attorney Simone, and here is my brief breakdown on Porsha's divorce. You can also drop any questions that you have in the chat. So Porsha and Simon were only married for 15 months. prior to her filing for divorce. And the reason divorce was taking a while was because Simon was objecting to enforcement of the prenup. He was asking, Porsha was asking the court, please, please, please enforce the prenup. Simon was saying, hell no. Here are the three major reasons why Simon was trying to get out of enforcement. He didn't want to enforce it because, first of all, he absolutely did not expect Porsha to file for divorce so soon. Porsha filed, they got married in November of 22. Wait, I got the dates. Yeah, they got married November 26th of 22. They negotiated the prenup for a year. Fun fact, just before that prenup was actually negotiated and they married, he had a hearing with ICE where they told him for the umpteenth time, no, you cannot become a permanent citizen. Our no is based on fraud. You'll never become a permanent citizen. And that he was eligible for deportation at any time, honey. So he knew that before he ever got married, never told Porsha. Then news of a follow-up hearing that took place, I want to say January of 24, leaked. Porsha then found out this man was not here lawfully and legally and could be deported at any time. She then filed for divorce, and she just wanted the prenup to be effective and enforced. But Simon, he said three main things. Number one, he said there was fraud, that Porsha committed fraud by not informing him that she was going to go back to TV. The judge thought that was laughable. The judge was like, come on. Number one, it was argued, well, if that was so important, you should have put that in the prenup. You should have said, this prenup is based on the fact that wife has confirmed she will not return to television. He didn't do that. And secondly, the judge was like, on both sides, y'all are some of the best lawyers in the state of Georgia. If that was a provision, you would have put it in there. But also, why would you expect her to not to do TV when that's what she was doing when you met? And the two of you guys did TV together. So fraud, the judge was like, boy, bye. Secondly, he argued there was a substantial change in circumstances. He argued that when they initially did the prenup, Porsha, he was worth $300 million. Porsha was only making $3 to $4 million. However, now, because she's back on the shows and so forth, she makes substantially more, closer to $20 million. Well, the law doesn't like those arguments. The argument that, oh, the substantial change is that the wife is earning more, because they don't want to disincentivize for women to start a new life, get jobs, and move the heck on, right? Because in a marriage as short as 15 months, clearly your spousal support wouldn't be for life. And what Porsha stated, her argument was, well, Your Honor, the reason I had to go back and get a job is because Simon was not paying the things that he agreed to pay in the prenup. He was supposed to take care of the mortgage, HOAs, utilities, all of that. Once she filed, he quit. He didn't pay nothing. She said there was at least 3 months worth of a mortgage she had to pay to save the house for foreclosure. And then thirdly, his claim was that she violated the prenup and that it should not be held, it should not be enforced because Porsha violated the prenup by going on national TV, talking about the relationship and filming in their home. They did have an NDA provision in that prenup. And I actually did an entire video on that. Here we go. Yeah, I did a whole video breakdown. I'll show you just a quick clip. But here we're talking about a prenup provision for the house and then a separate one for cash. So the second thing that he's arguing is says that there was a confidentiality provision. Hold on a second. I don't know that you can see it. You can see it. Okay, good. Somebody said, I don't think Porsha really wants just a lot of debt, in my opinion. And this video is called Simon's Locked Up by ICE, but ICE won't let Porsha divorce. And the premise of this video, it was about the fact that Porsha kept trying to enforce and have the darn divorce hearing, but ICE would not allow him to meet with his attorneys, and ICE doesn't have any component of Zoom, so they weren't able to have the hearing. Here we go. In the prenup, because he's this businessman and he's got all this going on. And so, specifically, this is me talking about the confidentiality provision in the divorce. Now, this is important. check this because it is literally verbatim. There's a section where this is quoting the prenup. And I want you to hear the language regarding confidentiality from him. But here we're talking about a prenup provision for the house and then a separate one for cash. So the second thing that he's arguing is says that there was a confidentiality provision in the divorce. In the prenup, because he's this businessman and he's got all this going on. And so confidentiality is very significant to him. And that Porsha breached by doing these national interviews and telling her business and going on these interviews and saying negative or disparaging things about him. And I'm going to read you some excerpts. When I first read it, I was like, show me the provision. And he initially didn't have the provision nowhere in there. He gets to it later. I'm going to read it to you. I want y'all to tell me. First, tell me in the chat, do you really think Porsha was expecting to never work again? She was going to marry him and never work again. Also here, important factor, Porsha didn't go back on Housewives until the divorce. In other words, Porsha can argue, even if the argument is I wasn't going to work, once I filed for divorce and then we were duly separated, which is what she put in her papers, I had no choice. I had to provide for myself and my child. I think that's a very persuasive argument to the judge. I say, Your Honor, I went back to work because I knew it wasn't going to work with him. And so what I'm supposed to do? Just sit on the courthouse steps and sell hot dogs? Dennis McKinney said that hot dog business. No. So it makes perfect sense. All right. Now, here's the argument about the confidentiality. Let me hear I want to know what y'all think. I think of anything, it's probably more persuasive. He says, due to wife's notoriety and fame as a well-known public figure and the husband's private life as a businessman with children from previous relationship, it was extremely important for the husband to have a confidentiality clause in the prenup that prescribed non-consensual recording of himself, his private residence, home life, and children, and prohibited disclosure of his personal affairs, business affairs, and personal relationships, including his marriage and relationship with the wife. Consequently, husband negotiated and bargained for a confidentiality clause. The provisions of that clause, quote, prohibit wife from discussing the husband, his family, professional interests, and financial aspects of the parties' relationship. It also prohibits wife from recording any aspect of any activity in or about any home, office, or other property owned, occupied, or used by the husband or any of his family, friends, representatives, or kids, which also includes prohibiting the wife from recording in the marital residence. So that's where the motion came from, where Simon filed the motion to prevent her from filming anything on Real Housewives at that house. All right. Now, interestingly, the bottom line was this. Those were the provisions, but the judge found that Simon actually violated the confidentiality provisions first by talking about Porsha. So in the end, the judge said, whoop, too bad for you, Simon. The provisions will stand. And she got everything that she wanted in the divorce. Specifically, just to summarize it, she got all her legal fees paid, because whenever you have a prenup, right, the whole point is to not have a long, drawn-out divorce. Exactly what they're going through here. So the prenup had a provision that says whoever contests it, which here it was Simon, has to pay the other person's attorney's fees. Here, that was $250,000. She was also married for 15 months, so she gets $40,000 for a month for each month she was married. So that's going to be $40,000 for 15 months. They also made the argument that if she was really trying to be greedy, she could have waited 6 more days, which would have meant they had been married 16 months and gotten another $40,000. But she was so ready to get this divorce over with, she filed before the 16th month. In addition, he's got to give her that Rolls Royce. It looks like it's a lease though, so it's like, who cares? But he's got to give her the Rolls Royce, and he's supposed to pay off, if it's a lease, pay off the rest of that. And then, y'all, here's part of the tea. She talked about how he was not paying certain bills that he was supposed to. Again, he was supposed to pay for the house, She says she had actually ended up having to pay his child support. That this man, since he's been locked up at nights, it wasn't really clear that man is owed at least 3 months in child support, that she paid that. I thought that was smart, because with her being a public figure, some blogs and some people would drag her if one of the ex-wives started going to social media and was like, he's a deadbeat, he's not paying. So that was really nice. And here's what I really love about how Porsha did that. Shout out to you, Miss Porsha. Not only was that a classy stepmother thing to do, the way they're trying to coordinate it is this. Because we all know he's out of the country, right? So most people are like, what happens to his property now? And will Porsha ever see a dime? So the answer is this. Even though you're deported, it doesn't mean you lose your assets. America doesn't work that way, right? That's for communist countries and things like that. So you still own all the assets. You just can't come here to enjoy them. So you can hire an attorney to sell them and different things like that. But with the house, there is a provision that says Porsha has up to 36 months to decide whether or not she wants him to buy her out of the house or not. The house is a $7 million mansion. And Simon was mad because in order to put down the $2.4 million down payment on the house, he sold 2 of his separate properties that he owned free and clear. So in other words, he gave up 2 homes to buy this one for Porsha. It's worth $7 million, but it's got at least $2.4 million of equity simply due to the down payment. So Porsha's attorney actually stated that she has already articulated her desire to have him buy her out. Because so many are like, now that he's deported, technically he don't have to come to any hearing. If he doesn't show up to any other hearings for this divorce or any debts, what happens is it will just be a default judgment. But what Porsha is doing, and this was smart. So you don't ever want to be in a divorce where you got to wait for the other person or expect that they're going to pay you for example, the 15 months of alimony at $40K that you think he's going to give her that money? No, he wasn't paying the mortgage as he was supposed to. So her lawyers asked for this, for the judge to sign what's called a judicial deed. That judicial deed, it completely removes Simon as owner of the property, puts it 100% in Porsha's name, and will allow Porsha to sell it or do whatever she wants. And then what they've asked is that when she sells it, not only does she get her half, but she gets all the expenses and the debts that she is ordered to receive from the prenup. So in other words, she'd get a lump sum of that $40,000 a month times 15 months. She'd get that in a lump sum. She'd get her attorney's fees, which were like $250,000. She'd get that in a lump sum, which is super smart. And then she would get to take her equity off the top and leave him with whatever the rest. In other words, she would cut him a check. Now, it looks like she's probably going to just try to sell the house because she testified that she already has a house, right? That in order for her to have both, the bank informed her she would have to sell her home in order to refinance the loan so that she could take 100% ownership of the property that she was living in, that Simon. Here's a fun fact, y'all. Many people don't realize. If you've ever been through a divorce, put it in the chat. When a divorce decree orders that you must refinance the house into your own name. So let's say she wants to keep it. I told you before, she already told him, I want you to buy me out. Well, we know Simon has been deported. He can't get no more American loans, not for something like residential real estate that's owner occupied. Why? It can't be owner occupied. He don't live there anymore. He doesn't live in America. So Simon couldn't get a loan. Even if Simon wanted to refinance it, they wouldn't loan to him. Now he's a huge risk because he's been deported. And then on Porsha's end, it was alleged that at some point she had bad credit. I don't know if that's true or not. But if she was told she'd have to sell her other home and to refinance this one, that could be because this one, you only refinance it to the amount that would basically, like if you wanted to she could refinance it for 2 million, 3 million, whatever it is after the equity, right? She just has to pay off the mortgage. If there's any equity, she can keep that. But the law actually says even when the divorce order says you must refinance it into your name within so many months, what's unwritten is that you only have to make a good faith effort. So hypothetically, if Porsha's credit is messed up, and if she makes an effort to obtain a loan to refinance the property into her name and can't, there's nothing they can do about it. As long as Porsha is paying the note on the home each month, if she wants it, she pays the note each month. The judge can't do anything because the courts they don't control your credit score. They don't control whether or not a bank will give you a loan. So I have actually seen in divorces where that provision was there, and then the husband will call my office pissed because now he and his new wife want to get a house, and they can't because the old home is still in the name of the ex-wife. And the ex-wife's got messed up credit. So the ex-wife can't refinance it into her home. All of those things happen. This is just your legal tea, so you know what's going on right here. Also, what's cool as well is what Porsha can do. Remember, she paid a few months of this guy's child support, at least 3 months of it when he wasn't paying his bills. What she can do is when she does get ready to give him whatever his half of the value of the home would be, if she wanted to get with the other mamas of the kids where child support is due, honey, she could get with them and allow the court to make a lien against him, right? Because he's not in America. So these mamas may not ever get no more child support. And instead of Simon receiving the equity in the home, it go to the mothers of his children for future child support. Yes, you can get a court order that would force child support from today until the kid is 18, whatever that amount. And then she, when she sells the home, refinances it, whatever she's going to do, can ensure that those moms each get paid. And if Simon don't get nothing, that's his problem. That is his problem. So I think I've answered most of the questions. Yep, the prenup was invalidated. She paid the child support. Yep, I think I answered most of the questions that I kept getting on Instagram and others. So make sure you share this video. I'm going to make it public later. Share this with others. I'm your legal bestie, Attorney Simone, and this is a legal breakdown of Porsha and her divorce from Simon. And you can also, I'm going to attach the video that's in this clip where I do a full breakdown, and it includes provisions, exact provisions from the confidentiality agreement. So take a look at that. I do feel like all those confidentiality things that said, it actually said she couldn't photo the house. She couldn't talk derogatorily, negatively about him. But the judge found he talked bad about her first. As a result, that was not enough grounds for the prenup to be invalid. And so in effect, for 15 months of marriage, Porsha is going to get $250,000 plus 40,000 times 15, whatever that number is. And 1/2 the value of the $7 million home. Oh, by the way, she does have to get it appraised. And then whatever that appraisal amount is, he's going to be required to give her 50% of that appraisal amount. And what they can do is sell the home, and she gets her proceeds for everything he owes her first. If there's anything left over after that, and perhaps child support, he'll get whatever the balance is. All right. So that's that. I'm your legal bestie, Attorney Simone. And that was a recap of Simon and Porsha's divorce. Now, I did drop the link to see if anyone wanted to come in with questions, even if it's like Q&A for the Diddy trial, but I didn't see it here. I'm going to drop it one more time in case anyone wants to come on or ask me a question. Remember, you do not have to show your face. Again, I'm super grateful for you members. Super, super grateful. And so maybe that's why Porsha was looking for a new house. Yes. So she's going to want to, and think about it. It actually would be brilliant for her to sell this home. Let me see if I can find the home to see what it is worth. Let me see if I can figure out what it's worth. Hold on. I can't remember where I used to have it. Yeah, I can't remember what it's worth. Y'all, I'm so excited. I'm supposed to be meeting, Mims for dinner this evening, early dinner. After this, let's see. I don't see her house, but it was 7 million when they bought it in 21 or 22. So chances are it's probably worth like 10 million now. Now to the gritty Diddy of it all. So let me update. I want to play this little clip for you guys. Y'all know I like giving you the tea. I like giving you the tea. So there is this video I wanted to share with you guys. An update of tea on the Diddy trial. All right, we want history. Here we go. Y'all know who is hilarious. Here he is.
Where y'all at?
Get your big fat ass down there to the courthouse.
Hold on.
Seeing the Kanye West video.
All right. So I want to show you this clip. So a lot of people have been asking after Kanye came up to the courthouse, they're saying, where are all Diddy's friends? Why aren't they here supporting him? Here's a clip, and I'm going to explain exactly why Kanye West's friends have not, Diddy. All right, so many have been asking. Yes, I'll give you more intake on the Diddy trial for sure. Thanks for asking. And you guys, again, you can hit that link, that StreamYard link, if you want to come in and ask a question. So many have been asking, like, where are all Diddy's friends, the ones he was popping bottles with? Where are they, and why haven't they been here to support him? Well, I'm your legal bestie, Attorney Simone, and here at Girl, Is That Legal? I break down the tea. And I'm going to let Auntie Tia explain her thoughts on it before I do. Here we go. Auntie Tia.
So Kanye gonna be the only one that show up at the courthouse in support of his buddy. Since nobody don't want to say it, I said. All right, Khaled, get your big fat ass down there to the courthouse. Ross, get your big white ass down there to the courthouse. French Montana, get your yellow ass down there.
She's speaking facts, though.
Okay.
She's speaking facts.
So she's like, why won't y'all get your big behinds down there to the courthouse? Well, the truth of the matter is they're coming. They'll be here. But for many of them, they simply could not. So how it works under the law, if you are listed on the witness list, you are not allowed to sit in the gallery and watch the trial. You're not even allowed to watch after your testimony is over, because sometimes there are instances where you get recalled up to the stand. And so what likely has happened is many of those star-studded celebrities, French Montana, some of the ones that have been named by Auntie Tia right there, they're on his witness list. So until it's their time to testify, they are not allowed in the courtroom. They're probably not even allowed to come up to the courthouse unless they're, for example, meeting with the prosecution or perhaps the defense attorneys, but they're not allowed to watch. So have you guys heard any other influencers, legal influencers, explain that tea to you guys? Let me know down below in the chat. Also, the fact that Kanye was there and was watching, at least they said that he came for like 20 minutes and left. If he did, in fact, watch the trial, he's not going to be called to testify either. He won't be allowed, because the concern is you're going to hear testimony and then that's going to influence your testimony. So people in the courtroom that we know, and that's whether they're in the overflow or the main courtroom, that we know have been there, that we know won't be testifying, include the sons, all of the sons, Christian, Quincy, Justin won't be testifying, Mama, Miss Janice, or her wig. Neither her or the wig will be testifying, because I know we want to see that wig. As Mims described it, it was, Mims calls it her Austin Powers wig is back. It's the curly one. Yeah, no one else is saying it. I'm gonna do a reel on that to make sure that's him. So that's why he showed up. Now he can't be called. That could be too. He could be like, I don't want to. Don't put me in this. Now, I personally think Kanye, if he were to testify, he could be a good witness if Jane had actually participated in his freak off more so than was discussed. Remember, there was a freak off. It's alleged that it was a major iconic rapper and his wife. And specifically in the transcript, they said wife slash girlfriend. And then in another part, they just referred to her as significant other, because I think wife would have absolutely given it away too much, because it was either Kanye or Nelly. And we know Ashanti ain't about to be a part of that. We also know for sure it was not Jay and Beyonce. But as a result of that, I thought Kanye actually, if it was true, if it had happened that Jane had more participation than what she testified to, calling Kanye actually could be directly relevant if the defense is trying to support that, hey, Jane doesn't mind freak offs. She actually has done one with Diddy's friends without Diddy being present. Remember, testimony said that Diddy goes, you had a freak off without me? He was livid. And it was with one of his friends, right? So he was livid. So I don't think Kanye will actually be called. I think Kanye would actually be somewhat risky to call as a witness. I think we can all agree on that. But it would not, someone has asked, would that open the door to talk about other SA cases that Kanye is facing? And the answer is no. You cannot bring up the bad acts of a witness unless it's directly relevant to the testimony. It says, I think Kanye wanted to add intimidation of Jane. Ooh, Jess, it could definitely be. In addition, I think that's why the prosecution was adamant to not have him in the courtroom. If you'll remember, the other morning, the first day that he tried to come, which was allegedly Thursday, there was about an hour and a half of a sidebar in chambers pertaining to a January, I think it was 24th, 2024 incident with Jane in Vegas. That was this incident, this freak off incident. And that was because the defense attorneys wanted to state who that rapper was. The judge ultimately said no, probably citing anonymity, but also perhaps the celebrity of that witness might distract the jury. Remember, there were already concerns that jurors would see, the limelight of Diddy and may not be able to be impartial. So, yeah, I think Kanye would, and I absolutely think it would have been 100% intimidating to Jane. And that's not right. It's bad enough that she's talking about these truly, truly embarrassing, intimate encounters. The last thing that, whether you believe she's a victim or not, the last thing a person who's pouring out their truth on the stand, I do believe she was telling the truth, should have to endure is any form of intimidation while on the stand, talking about one of your most vulnerable moments and experiences in life. Yep. So I think that was a good call of the judge there. And then there is juror number 6. Let me see if there is an update on that. Yeah, that juror is expected to be dismissed. We are waiting. Okay. So yeah, we are waiting. Basically, the judge, hold on. Oh, Fox 5 is saying exactly what I said. The juror dismissed. Here's why. I told y'all. Yeah, juror dismissed. Here's why. And we don't need to go into why because I'm your legal bestie and we already know. But he was dismissed after prosecutors. Yep, he was dismissed after prosecutors raised concerns about his accusing him of showing what's called a lack of candor regarding his residence. There were too many inconsistencies, and it was believed that he just really, really wanted to be on that jury. So, Simone, what about Diddy making motions to the jury? Yes. So here's the thing. He does this nodding. So someone will be on the stand. If he wants them to answer in the affirmative, he'll go like this. But that's not so bad because some people don't necessarily notice that they're doing it. Well, when King Combs was in the courtroom, he actually does the same thing. I do feel like to some extent, like it may be not a nervous thing, but it might be something that he doesn't even notice that he does, but it doesn't make it okay. Like you're still absolutely positively not supposed to do that. So, yeah, the judge ripped him a new butthole the other day when that happened. But, on Friday, when I was in the courtroom, the prosecution raised that again. They're like, hey, he's doing it again. And the judge reiterated like, hey, don't do that. Diddy's own lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, was like, Your Honor, that's not the case. He's not doing that, blah, blah, blah. And the judge was like, look, we get it. People are going to have body language and things like that. But just the judge was saying, the next time the prosecutor affirmatively sees him do it, to immediately tell the judge so he can address it. But he hasn't been doing it again. I think it might actually be something that they just naturally do. Doesn't make it right. They got to stop. But because of the way that the son was doing it too. However, the son may be in big dookie trouble because the son wore a free Diddy shirt. It was all black. Okay. Christian Combs. Let me see if I can find it for you. You can't, you absolutely can't do that. No, it was all black and he had a tie on top of it. Let me see if I can pull that for you. Hold on. It was Christian had it on. Here we go. His son yep, here we are. NBC News is. We don't care about this ad. You gotta be kidding me. I don't care about that. No. Okay, we're waiting to see if that shirt pops up. But Here we go. All right, when that shirt pops up, I'll play it for you. But I also wanted to let you know that at the end of the day, here we go. At the end of the day, we got notice of someone else who will be taking the stand that I am oh so excited to hear from. Here it is. Here's the shirt. Here we go. I'm going to make it bigger for you guys so you can hear it.
This is a big no-no because he's sitting right Sean Combs' shirt in court today. Now, this is a big no-no because
there it is,
right in direct eye line of the jurors, and
you can't do you can't do that, fool.
Eye line of the jurors, and you cannot do anything to communicate with them.
Yeah,
eye line of the jurors because he's sitting right in.
There it is. So now you guys can see it. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for you guys. Yeah, so here's the shirt. It is the free Diddy shirt. Suggested this stupid shirt. Yeah, it can be taken as trying to communicate with the witness. And so the judge is like, absolutely not. You may not do that. You're a naughty boy. But interestingly, so I was very nervous that Monday was going to be the last day of testimony. But apparently not. Their goal is to wrap up on Wednesday, or they being the prosecution, Wednesday, or at the absolute latest, Friday of next week. Now, what's interesting, hold on, did he prove? Oh, here we go. I found it. Yeah. So what's interesting is that, and we do have Juneteenth. So my concern, there we go. My concern was that they were going to try to wrap on Monday. And I was like, oh, no, we need some more. We need some more. Now, Friday, remember, was one of his assistants. It was absolutely one of, let's see, that was Jonathan with the duck lips. Jonathan Perez was his last name with the duck lips. Here we go. Jonathan took the stand under immunity. He testified to basically substance distribution. That was the biggest challenge that he talked about, really. But he also talked about his relationship with Jane. Here we go. His relationship with Jane, and how Jane didn't really like any of those people. Jane did not get along with KK. Hold on a second. My ADD is hitting me. Y'all deserve better. Hold on. There we go. I want to show you this little clip. I'm so excited about. Here we go. All right. This is from, here we go, last year. I'm going to show you this additional clip. Wow. Listen. Okay. Hold on. All right. So remember, I was like, look, they do not need to wrap up on Monday. I have said I felt that it was far too soon for them to do that. I think that they still need to really shore up. Hold on. I think they need to really shore up that RICO and a nice tight bow, and that they're going to need someone to take the stand and do that. Well, guys, I think, especially now that KK is not coming. So my concern is, we ain't got no KK. We need somebody. Okay. We need somebody. Again, if you want to join and ask any questions, there is a link to do so. Well, we don't have KK. KK is not coming. D-Rock isn't coming. But here's who we do have. I'm so happy to share. Boom. Brendan Paul, the drug mule. Y'all, can I, where is my gal? Here we go. All right. I need you guys to give me my flowers. I'm going to show you this clip from last year. This was last May, a video that I did that is totally on, here we go, on this topic. All right. This video is called Diddy Video Proof, Criminal Charges and Drug Mule Flips. And let's see if I can get it to play. This is from last May that I made this video. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Let me go back to it. I was just there. Here we go. There you go. 25. Come on.
white boy, his drug mule, Brendan. Hold on. As you're thinking of those questions, somebody just asked about Russell Simmons. Russell
we don't care about
Simmons
that.
has been.
We want Brendan. Hold on. Let me give you the section on Brendan. Basically, I got to redo it. I will. Hold on. Can get right back to it. I got like all these different screens, y'all. My apologies. But, all right. Okay. Okay, here we are in 27. There we go.
Right now. Oh yeah, they're gonna go all the premises. They're gonna search again.
This is about the drug mule.
They're gonna be searching yachts. They're gonna be searching all of
that.
that. But let me bring in. Let's see. I want to bring in a discussion just real quick.
Don't ask me why.
Do I think the mule confiscated the tape? No, I don't think he did that. But I do believe that the drug mule, is cooperating.
Told you.
To give the feds any and everything that they need. And I also believe just by virtue of being a drug mule means you have seen some of the most illegal stuff possible, right?
I'm going to tell you in a second. I'm going to answer this.
Think about this. And we also know that Diddy likes having dirt on people. So by Brendan being his mule, he probably feels like Brendan's not going to say nothing. He can't say anything because I have on him the fact that he's walking around and has toted all these drugs. Well, I feel like them finding drugs, them as in the feds finding drugs on Brendan at that airport, the Opelika airport, wherever it was in Florida, was the biggest gift to the feds.
Sure was.
Here's why. The plea deal he took yesterday, it was a felony. He was a first-time offender. He had no priors. And the plea deal that Brendan received, he gets probation, no jail time whatsoever. It's going to be 6 months. He's got to take like some type of drug class, and he's all done.
Remember that?
So a friend of mine was like, I don't think he flipped. I said, why? He said, I don't think he flipped because it was such a low-level offense. He'd have no need to flip.
A lawyer told me this.
That's what they want you to think. You're right. It was lower level, although it was a felony. So number one, you have to remember, you can always get charged harder. He could have. But more importantly, and excuse me, my allergies.
Because specifically with Brendan Paul, what happened is he was charged. He had the Gucci bag, the Gucci purse with the substances in it that we've been hearing about all the testimony and trial. He had that, and it was on him, on his person. And see, that day that they caught up with them, it was the same day that they were searching all of Diddy's properties. So they confiscated the plane. Diddy never carries the substances on himself. Y'all, that's drug distribution for RICO. That is what it looks like when in correction for the racketeering charge. That's what it looks like. And specifically, Brendan Paul used to be a basketball player for Syracuse. He was Diddy's personal assistant. He had never had any criminal record whatsoever. So they knocked it down to a misdemeanor. It was a felony. They knocked it down to a misdemeanor. He was charged in Florida court, and it was some first-time offender program that they gave him. So it's going to be expunged from his record. And so people were like, oh, that's such a low level. He has no incentive to cooperate. And here's why I explained the hell he don't. This is why he does.
That happened at an airport. So he may have made that deal with the state attorney's office, which is the state prosecutors. He made a deal with the feds, and the feds can still charge him. He could get charged with something for having drugs on an airplane, right?
Yeah.
Because that's international. What I believe likely happened, and is more likely, is that the feds came to him and probably said, hey, you got this sweetheart deal over here by the state, but the states aren't the feds. We can charge you with much more, including we can charge you with a RICO offense. If you don't.
Mind you, give me my flowers, y'all, because this was May 18th of 2024 that I made this video. This was before Diddy was even indicted. He was not indicted until September. I explained this in And so this is why you guys tune into your legal bestie. Share this video with friends or whoever on Facebook.
Tell us everything you know, everything you've seen, names, numbers, dates, flip. I said, why? He said, I don't think he flipped because it was such a low level offense. He'd have no need to flip. That's what they want you to think. You're right. It was lower level, although it was a felony. Number one, you have to remember, you can always get charged harder. He could have. But more importantly, and excuse me, my allergies. More importantly, that happened at an airport. So he may have made that deal with the state attorney's office, which is the state prosecutors. He made a deal with the feds, and the feds can still charge him. He could get charged with something for having drugs on an airplane, right? Because that's international. Mm-hmm. What I believe likely happened, and is more likely, is that the feds came to him and probably said, hey, you got this sweetheart deal over here by the state, but the states aren't the feds. Mm-hmm. We can charge you with much more, including we can charge you with a RICO offense. If you don't tell us everything you know, everything you've seen, names, numbers, dates, times. Mm-hmm. Because what he can negotiate with his lawyer is that in exchange for that, because of the fact that it was lower level, he would be the best kind of person to give a deal to. Because if you have to put somebody on the stand to rat out everybody else, you want somebody who's going to be more sympathetic to a jury.
Yes.
Who would be more sympathetic than this little white boy, first-time offender, who's been manipulated by this big black mogul? So I say that to say, and I want your thoughts in here, but I feel that Brendan is likely working with the feds, has worked with the feds, will continue to, because not only is it beneficial to him, because he can get complete immunity. Mm-hmm. And if I was his lawyer, we would only be speaking under the terms of complete immunity, and I will point them all out. I'm going to give you all these people. And also the fact that because he was the drug dealer, he's seen the slimiest of the slime, the worst of the worst.
Yep. Oh, yeah. So there we go. So that was
okay. And you're able to actually confirm that something isn't original.
There we go. So that was like the gist of what I wanted to make sure that you guys saw here. Brendan Paul is taking the stand this week. I think that is going to be some amazing testimony. That part, Simone, I think he belongs with the feds now. Absolutely. Because with RICO, remember, the lowest of you can be charged with the highest of you. So if you don't take that immunity deal, that sweetheart deal, as just like I believe KK didn't take it. See, when you take that immunity deal, you got to take it just before you go on the stand. The fact that KK has not agreed to come on the stand means more than likely she has not received an immunity deal. Now, they've likely talked about it, but unless and until KK were to come, and I'm going to put this back up because grown women know KK is not going to testify. She was likely subpoenaed. She was likely asked, but what happened is either the feds decided she's a co-conspirator and we don't want to give her complete immunity. And therefore her lawyer said, don't cooperate, don't take the stand. It's not going to be worth it. Remember, KK's lawyer is Teeny Garagos, Diddy's same lawyer. That was revealed in the motions that were submitted regarding the missing cell phone that I broke down in a video earlier this week. Go check that out. But KK is not going to be called. And an example here is that what I think likely happened is the government decided, all right, if we're not going to call her, who are other witnesses that we can call that are going to speak to her as a co-conspirator? Now, remember, here's what I love. In court, they have been using co-conspirator in reference to KK. That's critical. Why? Because of the same reason that so many people are like, hey, how are you having a one-man RICO? So the answer is it's not one man. It's only one person presently being charged as the defendant. There are not public co-defendants listed, but Diddy is sealed defendant 1, which means there are other sealed co-defendants that are numbered differently. So by them referring to KK as a co-conspirator, it then puts in the mind of the jury, oh, there are others. So although it's not required to be proven under the law that there are any co-defendants, they're now getting the mind of the jurors and allowing the jurors to know, oh, there are others. KK is one. D-Rock is one. And now he is going to be able to take the stand and point to those people as the ones in charge. See, you don't want to, the ones that are in charge, you got to be a lot more careful with the deals that you give them. And at this point, I guarantee you the language that the prosecution and the government has been using with respect to KK and KK's attorneys is she going to be the next Ghislaine Maxwell, or however you say that last name, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's right-hand woman, that if she didn't want to cooperate, that's who she's going to be. But now the government has gotten to the point where, for whatever reason, they feel her testimony actually could be more harmful than helpful. So what they've done is now they are using other witnesses who would be able to attest to her role in the organization. And that actually makes sense. You got a Brendan, a college student, a college grad, Syracuse ball player, who's going to take that stand and talk about how KK and Diddy made him do a bunch of stuff. He's more innocent, because what makes it difficult, and probably what the prosecution has calculated, is they don't want to put someone on the stand who is going to, there we go, someone on the stand who it's going to look like that person themselves was facing so much time that they have an incentive to lie. So if KK is facing the same time as Diddy, which she likely was, she may not have been on the hook for the S trafficking, but she absolutely would have been for the RICO, right? Which meant she would have been facing close to life. Those are the people that Brian Steele and the defense would tear a new butthole, because all they have to do is keep telling the jury, oh yeah, well, she's here to avoid 20 years. She's here to avoid. Isn't that true? Isn't that true? Brian Steele and or Nicole Westmoreland would tear her a new butthole, versus you get a Brendan Paul on the stand and say, well, aren't you here testifying because you don't want time? He can get up there and say, I was only charged state and they expunged my record and I was a first-time offender and I'm not facing any other charges. Boom. Because remember, the feds don't have to charge him again. So yes, she's going to get redded out. KK is going to be, I think here's the thing. I think if Diddy is found guilty, they will go get KK. But if he's not found guilty, they're not going to spend it. I don't think they're going to spend another dime on this case. I would highly, highly doubt it, just because of how expensive it was to try this. But it's possible. It's totally possible that even if Diddy is found, let's say he's found not guilty, then correction. I think if Diddy is found guilty of RICO, they're absolutely going for KK. But I think if he's not, it could go either way with KK, because do they really want to have, a full trial on the RICO for her? They might. Same thing with D-Rock. I could see them trying D-Rock and KK together, honey, together in a future trial. So yeah. So that's all I got for today, for Sunday. Again, this started as a members only live. I'm going to make it public later. Thank you, members, for joining. Drop your questions below, and please share this on Facebook. Encourage your friends and family to subscribe. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe. Oh, and thanks so much for the help with the panty fund, guys. With the panty fund, I really appreciate you guys. That's just the fund that's enabled and kept me in New York and it enabled me to keep covering this. I really appreciate that. And of course, last but not least, on KK. Remember, you never want a star witness who doesn't want to be there. You don't want a star witness who's going to say unhelpful things, who's going to say, oh, well, these are all personal things that I did for him, or these people or that person is lying. You don't want that. So I firmly believe that the government did a calculation based on how they believe KK would testify, said, forget KK, let's get other more innocent looking people who are facing less time, like Brendan Paul, and put them on the stand. All right. Thanks, you guys. I'm your legal bestie, Attorney Simone. Don't forget, you can follow me on Instagram at Attorney Simone Redwine, or you can also, and on Simone Redwine on X. But then also you can always hit that little Cashapp, MISS Redwine, to the panty fund. Y'all have a great one. Good night.